Hey, fast forward. So today we have Ryan Scribner with me today on this fast forward your entrepreneur journey. So he's a successful YouTuber, finance influencer, owner of Investing Simple. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, so excited to have you on. So before I interview you, I read your you have featured in Wall Street Journal, different kind of big names. So I was like a bit nervous when I was like going to interview you. So you can hear my voice like, oh my god, I'm so nervous. but I'm
Oh
so
gosh, no, I mean, don't be nervous at all. I'm an open book, and I try to be as open and like real with people as possible. And so don't, yeah, I'm just a normal person, to be honest, and that's how I carry myself. So don't worry about that at all.
yeah, actually it's more excitement than nervous. So it's like excitement is
hmm
like 70, nervousness is like 30%. So yeah, so happy to have you here. So maybe let's get started. Like maybe tell our listener like more about you. Like how did you get started on your entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always had kind of that interest in business and entrepreneurship, even when I was a kid. Like going back to being 14 years old, that's when I started my first business, which was a lawn mowing business, which is what a lot of kids do. I basically pushed my dad's lawnmower up and down my neighborhood, and I mowed lawns for my neighbors, and I made flyers using like Microsoft Paint, and got a couple of clients that were paying me like $20 to mow their lawn. And so that was like, I guess my first business was, mowing lawns and doing that with my summers. And not the best, I mean, for me being 14, but I wasn't really scalable. And then even later on in life, I tried many different businesses when I was kind of a, I guess late, I guess early teenager, or getting into like being maybe 16 or something like that. I've always just tried different businesses, had different ideas. And one of the biggest things that I struggled with when I was younger is like, I guess now I refer to it, or people refer to it as the shiny object syndrome, where you get one idea and you think, wow, this is a cool idea. And then maybe you work on it for a couple weeks, then you lose interest and you move to another idea. And so I always had interest in, business and entrepreneurship, but I could never get myself to commit to one thing. So even though I had that entrepreneurial interest, when I pretty much went into college, I decided, yeah, I'm going to let that go by the wayside. I'm just going to focus on college. And I ended up getting a degree in electrical construction, and I went and worked for my local power utility for a couple of years. And while I was working there, I had a lot of extra time on the side, and pretty much was looking for a way to have like a kind of, I guess, a hobby that also gave me fulfillment, because I wasn't really fulfilled from the work I was doing at my job. And so I started this YouTube channel, which it wasn't my first channel. I had done this in the past. Like when I was a teenager, we would do skits and put them on YouTube. And at one point I had a gaming channel. I've had many different channels, but again, could never stick to it. I would start something and then I would lose interest and move on to something else. And so when I started my channel in 2016, I really promised myself, I was like, look, I'm going to actually like fully commit to this and not have this be something where I just start it and then lose interest in a couple of weeks. And yeah, I mean, as far as like my background, I have a background in finance, but my dad is a financial advisor. I come from also a family of accountants. So I've always had like money, I guess like good money wisdom in my family. And I had a lot of good lessons about money growing up. And the motivation behind my channel was kind of understanding that, or realizing that there's not like what you think of as far as common sense, as far as money goes, isn't really common sense, because like things that I took for granted, like getting a secured credit card when I was 18 and building credit, like so many of my friends had never heard of that, or simple things like how much money to spend on a car. And so that got me motivated to start, sharing this information. And ultimately, that fulfilled my entrepreneurial desire as well, because it turned into a business. But it's funny because going into it, it was never like something I did for money. It was like, this is going to be cool. It's going to make me feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world, rather than just working this job I wasn't super passionate about.
Oh wow, okay. So awesome. Actually, I agree with you. Like I also start something and I stop. So
Yep.
it's more of like you decide something, one thing, then you commit to it and stay consistent. That's where you start to see like result. Even like there's no such thing as overnight success, but as long as you stay committed and consistent enough, you
Mm-hmm.
will slowly see you will start to see result, and you will slowly. But also it's more of like becoming more, what are you passionate about, like what is your passion. So you are here to solve a problems that not many people know about, common money sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like something that people always overlook. They just want to say, they just always seek for earning money. But what you to do when you earn that money, you can split into different portion, for savings, for investment, for something, to reinvest your money, so that money work for you instead of you working for money. Am I
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that. And I think that's one thing too. I always stress this too with like if somebody who's listening to this is entrepreneurial or interested in business, like that's the number one skill you can master is delayed gratification slash also being able to focus in on one thing. It's kind of the same thing here, but that shiny object syndrome is because you're somebody who is a visionary and you see opportunities that like 99% of people would never notice because their brain is just not wired that way. But the problem is you're going to see opportunity after opportunity. Like even now, I still like on a weekly basis will be like talking to my friends or like my girlfriend, and I'll be like, I just got this great business idea, and I'll tell her about it, and she'll be like, oh, are you going to do it? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I just think it's cool. And so kind of realizing as well that you don't really have to like go after every idea, but like you can jot them down and then eventually see which ones that you want to pursue. But yeah, so many people get stuck in that phase of idea after idea after idea. And I won't name names here, but I remember a couple of maybe like a year and a half ago, I sat down with somebody and I had dinner with them, and they were talking to me about all these ideas that they had for businesses, and they literally pulled out a notebook and they had over 100 different ideas written in this notebook. And while that's great, in a way, you also at a certain point, like if you look at those 100 ideas, probably at least half of them would actually work. And so actually executing on one of those ideas is so much more important than just coming up with new ideas. And that's like one of the huge areas I think entrepreneurs struggle with because of that shiny object syndrome that we're all susceptible to.
I feel that ideas is good. Yes, what you say, idea is good, but it's whether will you like take time to implement it. The implementation is what made the business idea in the thoughts become real
Yes.
in the real life. And also another thing, when it become real in the real life, will you stay consistent enough to pull through, to try all ways, and to adapt to changes? Because you can't like only go one straight route. You need to see what happened around our surrounding, and implement different changes, modify different things along the way, which is very important. Be you need to adapt to changes, because like this
Mm-hmm.
pandemic now, right? Uh everything was so normal till something hit us, and it become not normal anymore, which is like online is a new world now. Like those people who do not know what is a Zoom all know what is a Zoom now. They even need to
Right.
learn how to use the Zoom, even though they do not know how to
Mm-hmm.
operate it. So it's like so interesting now. Like so now you say that you start your YouTube channel in when you seriously get started is in 2016, in
Mm-hmm.
the year 2016. So maybe you just share the journey when you first get started, when you start doing videos and uploading into YouTube channel. What are the struggles in your thoughts? Like, I'm sure when you first upload a new video, there will not be any views at all, right? So what is that thoughts, and what kept you going?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's super important to talk about because a lot of people see maybe a podcast like yours or a channel like mine or anything out there, and they'll see somebody who's already established with their platform. And I think oftentimes people have an expectation when they go into something like a YouTube channel or a blog or a podcast where they think they're just going to put a piece of content out there. The video is going to go viral. They're going to be an overnight success. And I was a little bit more realistic with it when I started because I had done YouTube before with different channels. But it is a slow process. For me, I actually ended up having pretty fast growth with my channel. One of the very first people to talk about money and investing on YouTube. But yeah, early on, you have a lot of doubts for sure. Like, first of all, one of the things I was doing is taking my videos and sharing them on my Facebook and on my Twitter, because I think with the first phase of anything that you do, whether it's a podcast, a blog, whatever, your only audience is going to be friends and family for a long time. You're going to bug your friends and say, hey, come listen to my podcast, or I don't care, just download it. You don't even have to listen to it, just to get some traction. And so before you have that proof of concept behind you, or I guess like it's kind of, I don't know exactly how to explain this, but like when someone stumbles across my channel and they see that I have over 600,000 subscribers, it's easier for them to subscribe because of the social proof. So like they already see that over 500,000 people have subscribed to my channel, and they see the likes and the views, and they go, okay, this must be good, even though it may not be. I mean, I'd like to think it's decent content. You know, I do my best, but like in all reality, it could be bad content. But just because there's that social proof behind it, people are more likely to like and subscribe. The thing is, like, the bigger you become, the larger you become in a way. So like once you're so large on YouTube, you have that social proof behind you, and you just start building more views, subscribers, and likes just by nature of the fact that you're such a large channel and you have that social proof. So when you're like first starting, number one, you don't have an audience. So number two, you have no social proof behind you. So like somebody who stumbles across your channel, if they like saw your video in their feed or where they were searching for it, and they click on that video, number one, they're going to see that you don't have any subscribers. Number two, you don't have any views, that many views, and you don't have that many likes. So right off the bat, there's no social proof behind your channel. So convincing someone, basically what I'm saying in a nutshell here is, convincing someone to subscribe to you for those first 100 to 1,000 subscribers is a lot harder than your 500,000th subscriber because of that social proof. So that's one of the main reasons why it's so difficult to start and build a platform, because you don't have that social proof behind you. But in terms of my growth with my channel, that's what I did at first, was the friends and family. And that led to a lot of people just kind of wondering, like, what the heck am I doing? And when I started out my channel, I pretty much was just recording videos in my car on my lunch break, just talking about different money related topics. What is passive income? Difference between a credit card and a debit card, how to open a credit card at 18. So just different topics like that. And I was recording them in my car, throwing them up on YouTube. And some of my friends, I would like hang out with them, or they would like message me and they'd be like, what are you doing with these videos? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And like a couple of my friends were like, aren't you embarrassed like putting these videos out there that nobody's watching? And I was like, in a way, I was glad that I was doing that, because by putting myself out there and like sharing these videos with my friends and family, I was like, I'm going to have to make this work, because I don't want to be embarrassed like 6 months down the road if I quit and I never got any subscribers, and everyone is just like, oh, remember that time you thought you were going to be like a finance guru and posted a bunch of videos and failed? So for me, it's kind of like the accountability piece. Like if you're looking to lose weight, if you share that on Facebook or you share it with your friends and family, you're going to hold yourself more accountable, or at least if you're like me. It depends on how your brain is wired. But with me, like if I tell someone I'm going to do that, now I have to do that. And so that's kind of what I'd recommend that if you're like me, one of the ways you can keep yourself motivated is by sharing that with other people, sharing what you're going to be doing. And it's going to help you, stay focused on getting that done. But I did have pretty quick growth with my channel. I mean, I'd say like, I know to get my first 100 subscribers, it took me about 7 weeks. So that's a growth rate of about 2 subscribers per day. And during that time frame, I was actually like messaging friends and family members. I was like following strangers on Twitter, and then following, like it was like the whole follow for follow thing, if you remember that.
Yes, correct.
Where you like, yeah, you follow a bunch of people, then some of them are going to follow you back, and then you unfollow the ones who don't follow you. So I was doing that like a couple hours a day, and then people who would follow me back, I'd be like, hey, I just started this channel, can you give me some feedback on it? And a few of them would subscribe. So between the friends and family and messaging strangers on Twitter, I was able to get like 2 subscribers per day. But then it actually scaled up pretty quickly after the first 100 subscribers. 100 to 500 was pretty slow, but it took 7 weeks to get 100 subscribers, but within 6 months I had 10,000, which was like crazy growth. And then within 14 months, it was 100,000. So, and that is not, I just want to restate this too, or not restate this, but just make sure people are aware for their expectations. Like if you start a finance channel today, you will not experience that. I mean, you could, it's very unlikely. I had that first mover's advantage.
Yeah.
Like I know certain channels, it has taken them like 6 or 7 years to get 100,000 subscribers. So by no means is what I experienced common. It had a lot to do with being the first person in that market for the most part. I mean, there were a few of us in there, but I was very new to it. But yeah, people have to understand that when you are growing anything online, and you probably could speak to this as well, it's not linear growth, it's exponential growth, where at first you don't see much results at all, but then all of a sudden it's just that compounded return of your effort and your energy and just people sharing your content and then having that social proof behind you.
Yeah, I think it's the 80-20 rules. Like you use 20% effort to have the 80% result. Like, okay, because at first when we first started, we need to, when there's someone who like or comment on our YouTube channel, or don't care it's podcast or YouTube channel or Facebook comment, we will need to, reply back, say, hey, thank you for commenting on my, YouTube channel. It's a way you are appreciating them, like giving them show some appreciation for, even listening to your channel or liking at your post. Then in a way you are building a relationship with them, so that they know that they are being appreciated. Then they will tend to, value you more, because you value them as a listener.
Yes.
They value you more. It's like an exchange of energy. I'm not sure if, like, I mean, it's like at first you need to put in so much work, but slowly as you go along, you'll start to, build a momentum in it and start to gain, like what you say, the first 100 people you took about 7 weeks. Then from the 100 to the 500 is quite slow, like 7, like you will feel like a bit slower, but you still push on. And also another thing that you say is that you hold yourself accountability, because you declare to the world, you tell to your friends, you tell to your family, and you won't want them to say, oh, you try something and you give up later. Then they will not believe in you or trust in you again. Like they will just laugh at you, like, hey, I think you stop doing all these things, like you just concentrate on your, the job that you have. Correct.
Yeah. So, and that's what they really were like. And at first they were encouraging me to do that. Like when I was doing this stuff, and they didn't quite get it. And especially when I decided to like leave my job and do this full time, people really didn't understand that. Like most of my friends who I told them that they were like, they thought I was crazy. They were like, that's a terrible idea. Don't quit your job for YouTube. You're going to regret this decision. And even like my dad too, like he was, like I said, he's a financial advisor. So he's like very conservative, doesn't like risk. And so when I was telling him about my master plan to quit my job and be a full-time YouTuber, he just did not understand it. And I also, what made things even, I guess, more difficult is I was in like a union job. So it was very safe job, and I made good money because it was union. So leaving that job, which was considered to be like very cushy and, good benefits, had all that. Like a lot of people would say like, oh, I was living the dream, or like I had it made. But I didn't like what I did for like 8 hours a day. And I didn't want to spend the majority of my life doing something I don't like, because that just seems crazy to me, especially if this is the only life that we have,
Oh yeah, I have one coach who say crazy people meet crazy income. So you have to be crazy to be able to meet the kind of crazy income that you can imagine. So also another thing, do you have like a coach or a mentor that guide you on your channel, or you just, learn everything from scratch
I
using?
mean, I guess I didn't have a formal mentor or coach, but like what I did, and this is still what I recommend, is I pretty much followed everybody who was like my competition, like the people who were doing what I was doing. I just surrounded myself with their content. I watched all of their videos. I followed them on social media, and I watched exactly what they were doing. And I pretty much was looking at it in terms of like, okay, what is working and what's not working for them. And I tried to pretty much not necessarily replicate what they're doing, but have my own spin on things. And like, so for example, if somebody did a video on passive income and it did really well, I might also do a video on passive income. And so rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, I more or less watched what was working well for other people and did my own creative spin on that topic.
Oh, so it's like model success method and follow your competitor and watch what they're
Yes.
doing, because what they're doing is already gain so much attraction. So you just need to
Hmm.
tweak the words a little bit and just follow about the same content, speak about the same content. And I think there's a lot of different strategy for YouTube. I think I heard some before. You must be the first person to comment on the, like you ring the notification button.
Hmm.
Then you must be the first person to comment. The person who posts that video will saw your comment, and at the same time you can say maybe you can join my YouTube channel. Do you do like those kind of things that
I
the
mean, I
expert?
do have a lot of people that comment like first or things like that. And I generally try to like respond. I try to respond to most of my comments, but usually within the first hour that I post a video, I'll jump on and do my best to respond to different comments and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I don't really have like any, I don't really pay attention to like the bells and stuff like that. If anybody, clicks the bell, I don't even know if you can see that, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you didn't say that at all, right? I mean, in your YouTube
Oh, I
channel.
didn't, I didn't know you could see that in your analytics or something.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, now let me think if there's any more interesting questions to ask. So any advice for new entrepreneur, or maybe someone who want to start a side hustle, maybe anything that you can recommend them?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the first thing that we kind of already covered, I won't beat a dead horse here, but the main thing is, figuring out how to focus in on one idea rather than having that shiny object syndrome type mentality. And it doesn't mean you have to like zero in on that idea for the rest of your life. I mean, you can try something out, give it your all, and let's say 6 months down the road, it's just not working for you. But that is like the main thing that has allowed me to become successful with what I do, is that delayed gratification, that patience, and being able to like put on, not for another horse analogy, but like those horse blinders, because there is so much going on in the world, so much to pay attention to, so many different ideas. And as much as you may enjoy the idea process, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And it's really the execution on these ideas where you're actually going to become successful. And it's funny because one of my close friends was also entrepreneurial and he started a lot of online businesses. Like when we have talks about ideas, if either of us have like a business idea, we'll talk about the idea for like 2 minutes. And then it's like, okay, how are you actually going to do that? How are you going to execute on that idea? Because you can just get so caught up in that trap of coming up with idea after idea. Beyond that, I guess another piece of advice I would give, and you kind of mentioned this too, about how if you didn't know how to use Zoom before, well, now you know how to use Zoom because of this whole pandemic. And that kind of ties into like mega trends. And so if you can kind of pay attention to like what mega trends are currently going on, I think you can capitalize on these things by being an early adopter. Like for me, I was early on to this mega trend of YouTube being a educational platform, and even a larger trend, the trend of the online influencer. Now, I didn't know that's what I was doing, kind of right place at the right time. But if you can keep an eye on these mega trends and try to ride one of these waves, that's kind of your best shot here. And, certain things have been growing for a while. Like you don't want to be the person jumping on that train, you know, when it's already moving and everyone clearly knows that's popular. Like, for example, YouTube channels are still growing, podcasts are still growing, but it's kind of saturated. It's not impossible. You know what's explosive right now? TikTok. And I'm seeing people jump on TikTok and build, like I have a buddy of mine, in 1 month, he got 100,000 followers on TikTok. So whatever is the next trend, that's what you want to pay attention to. Not so much what's working now for other people, because you look at me as a successful YouTuber, but I'm successful mostly because I started in 2016 and I've posted videos every week for the last 4 years. Whereas if I started YouTube right now, I don't believe I would have that same success, or it would at least take longer. So rather than looking at what's working for me, say, okay, why did this work for him? Oh, it's because he was an early adopter, and oh, he provided good information to people. And then think about, okay, what's a trend I can capitalize on now, or what's a wave that I can catch? That would be probably my 2 biggest pieces of advice there.
Wow, it's like mega trends. Like, okay, so entrepreneur always look for problems and they will find a solution to solve that problems. So that's what entrepreneur do, right? Correct. So the
Yes.
mega trend, it could be like there's a huge problem now in the world, and you are able to find that solution to solve that problem. So it's like so-called the mega trends now, which is building your online business, which is like everyone is like searching online how to build your online business, how to scale the online platform to have to earn income. So this is like like blogging, even a blog spot is like a very long, it's like long ago this blogging has been in the market, correct? But those early adapter, yes, they become a huge success becoming a professional blogger. But if you were to start a blog right now, it will take a little bit more time to even
Yes.
reach the amount of success that someone has did it 10 years ago when it first get started.
Yeah, exactly. And I can speak to that too, because I started a blog in 2018 with a business partner of mine. And one of the first things I did, just like with my YouTube channel, when I started that, I just made connections with everybody that was I don't look at it as competition, but we'll call it competition. But everybody in my niche that was doing blogging, I found out who they were, who owned these sites. I added them on Facebook. I became friends with them. I emailed them and just like became in the know. And really, it was the people who started these finance blogs in like 2008 to 2012 that are now owners of 6-figure per month blogs. And so that just goes to show where like they were the early adopters of YouTube, and I was a early adopter, or I'm sorry, they were the early adopters of blogging. I was an early adopter of YouTube. And then they're more successful with blogging because they were there sooner, and I'm more of a later adopter. It doesn't mean it's impossible for me to grow my blog, and it has been doing well, but it's not growing as fast as theirs did because they got in at a much more a time where there was a more substantial opportunity. So if you have the dedication to put yourself into that podcast or blog or doing YouTube videos for 6 months to a year, it's still certainly possible. Just have realistic expectations and understand that you're not going to have that same rapid rise to success as some of those early adopters did.
Yes, yes. So actually, don't want to discourage everyone who want to start something new today. It's still possible that it's rather you start today than you wait 5 years later or 1 year later to start. So if you have any ideas, I just want to encourage you guys and motivate you guys to just implement the ideas that you have, and at the same time stay consistent. Don't give up. Don't because of there's only 1 view or 0 view on your YouTube or your podcast or whatever things that you are starting now. Just stay consistent, because people always underestimate what they can do in a year, like, and then what they can do in a decade. Yeah, what Tony Robbins always say, like, like those big names, they start early, but because of they being consistent in what they do, and they always be on the ball to learn new things, to be able to adapt to changes. That's why they are successful the way they are now. So you guys just don't give up. Just continue to stay in your path and just focus on one thing to be good at and be the master of that one thing.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
Yes. So any, like, maybe you want to share what maybe you can give me all the links that you want to share with the audience so that I'm able, to put up on my description, my podcast description, so that they can, check you out on YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
I have your link for YouTube, but the blog, I don't think I have. So maybe you just share with me later. I will just paste it on my podcast show. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's so it's investingsimple.com if people want to check that out. And then the other thing I always mention during podcasts is if people want to reach out to me and ask me a question, I will do my best to respond. If you will just shoot me a Instagram message and mention, "Hey, I came over from Abby's podcast," or wherever you came from, because if you've invested your time listening to this podcast, I want to do my best to invest my time in you as well. And I'll try to answer as many questions as possible if anybody has something specific.
Oh, wow. Okay. I want to follow you on Instagram also.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I want to thank, so any last words or any last advice before we end this show for our audience?
I think, yeah, the last thing I would say is, and it's similar to what you said, is people really underestimate how much they can accomplish over the long term. And if you just simply establish these habits of maybe whatever it is, I mean, whatever your goal is, if you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to make more money, if you just establish these things as part of a daily routine, whether it's reading books about money or educating yourself or building a passive income stream, when it becomes part of your daily routine, you are going to, dedicate time to that consistently and have a much better shot of success. You can't have a successful diet without having it part of your daily routine or having regular exercise multiple times per week. So if you want to be successful in business or with money, you have to look at it the same way you would look at weight loss or a diet and really build it in as part of your routine.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for your time. I'm not sure if I missed out anything to ask you, but like about your YouTube channel, maybe you just share more about your YouTube. What is it about? I think I'm not sure if I missed out on this, but maybe you can do a summary of what your YouTube channel is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So my YouTube channel mainly now is about investing in the stock market. But if you look back at my older videos, I also cover a lot of personal finance related topics, things like how much should you spend on a car, how to buy your first house. And so it kind of covers a lot of different finance related topics, and also maybe there's like some budgeting videos I did a long time ago. But now my main focus is investing in the stock market and how that kind of builds passive income, and also dividend investing, which is my primary investing style.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for time. So be sure to check out his YouTube channel, and also if you have any questions, he opened up his Instagram so that you are able to message him and just say you have listened to Fast Forward Your Entrepreneur Journey, and he will take his time to really reply your message if you have any questions. So thank you, Ryan, for your time. I'm so actually I'm so grateful that you're here. Like very, very thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.